Hi, and welcome to Have a Chat. We are live. It's hard to believe that we are back in studio, but we are so stinking excited. I can't even tell you. Anyway, I am joined, of course, by my fantastic co-host today, Judy Loge, and we have a special co-host, His Worship, Mayor Adam Lorden.
Thrill.
Good afternoon. Welcome back, ladies.
Yes.
Of course, it's your first time back in the studio in over 2 years. I had to be here on behalf of the citizens of Miramichi and, in fact, the whole province to say welcome back.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. So thank you for being here.
Well, I also brought you a little welcome back gift, ladies.
We love gifts.
So, as we're back into the studio, I thought you maybe might want some new decor if you're going to be doing any refreshing. So I got you this lovely sign that says Happy Place.
We love
This
it.
is our Monday Happy Place.
There you go.
awesome.
And for all of your viewers around the province,
Oh,
too.
very neat.
I
Isn't
love
that
it.
awesome?
I
We can
love
fight
it.
over it and take it home.
I know.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
no,
love it.
I
Thank
thank you very, very much. It's a beautiful gift. I love being back and all of our viewers tuning in live. I'm sure they had to put up with this at home sometimes, on their computer, they're looking at us. And now we're on television
I
again.
know. It's hard to believe that it has been more than 2 years since we've been in the studio live. We were, safe at home for the last couple of years, and that was a great thing. We were very lucky that we could still do the show and get to join everybody at home. But we really didn't think that there was any better guest to have on our first live show back than, of course, our mayor. And so we were glad that his schedule was able to accommodate. So welcome back.
Well, thank you. And what an exciting day. I mean, not only are you back in studio, but the sun is back, and I think around most of the province, it feels like it's been weeks.
I know.
It's true.
And isn't just the sun in the sky just makes the whole day better, doesn't
It's
it?
because we're here. That's why.
It does. No, it does. It definitely gives you that lift. I find I'm not a person that gets depressed as such ever, but I find I get in that low mood when the sun's not shining, and I can't imagine living in Scotland or somewhere where it was a lot of rain and darkness all the time. Beautiful territory, but weather-wise, I couldn't cope with that.
No.
I need sun.
No, that's right.
Some
I mean,
sun.
we miss it, and we're known. Miramichi, of course, is having more sunny days than anywhere else
right.
every year,
Yoo-hoo.
and boy, we've missed it. So hopefully, it's back for good now.
I love it.
At least for a while.
Yes.
But just for the viewers at home too, to let them know, we have some protocols in place around COVID as well as coming into the studio. So we were all masked until we sat down, each of us actually did a COVID test this morning to make sure we were still feeling great, and all of those things that we have to do and to make sure that we're all still safe and taking care of each other, right?
Exactly.
So,
Be safe.
Yeah, and we want to thank Rogers for what they have in place as well to make sure that we're still healthy. But you know what? We're going to kick off today's show now with Judy's got the quote. So we're pretty excited to hear, and I love it that we still do this every day after 8 years.
Yes.
Every show we still have a positive quote after 8 years, and although it's hard to believe that we're finishing out our 8th season now, but Judy's gonna share her quote.
Yeah, don't you be looking at my new wrinkles I've acquired over the last 2 years. That's 2 years plus, baby, and things have changed. Okay, so this quote is quite nice. If you have to ask, why me, when you're feeling really blue, when the world has turned against you and you don't know what to do, when it pours colossal raindrops and the road's a winding mess and you're feeling more confused than you ever could express, when the saddened sun won't shine, when the stars will not align, when you'd rather be inside your head and life is something that you dread and you have to ask, why me? Then when the world seems right and true, when rain has left a gentle dew, when you feel happy being you, please ask yourself, why me? Then too.
Absolutely.
Right.
We got to look at the good stuff too.
We have to.
Right? We get stuck sometimes in that, why are these things happening to me? Why are we going through the tough stuff? But we got to remember that, there's good stuff happening. We got to remember, well, let's kind of get stuck there too.
The sun will always come out.
Well, it's hard. Look, I mean, we're living in a heavy moment.
Absolutely.
And we, for me, I feel like in my generation, like this is the heaviest it's really ever felt. I mean, we went through 9/11, of course, and that had its own significance. But right now, it feels like it's one thing after another, and they just keep coming. And we do have to, maybe more important than ever, to find those moments to look at the positives as well, and to not be just all consumed by some of what's going on out there.
Grasp the silver lining.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was something to think about. It's not just why me on the bad days, it's why me on these wonderful days. Why am I the chosen person to have all this good stuff happening?
I agree.
Yep.
And it's, you know, yeah, it's not getting stuck in there. It's easy to get stuck in there and kind of dwell on that tough stuff because, as you're right, Adam, there is so much tough stuff right now.
Well, and thinking though of the positives and finding motivation and thinking about the positive, I understand you two attended an exciting motivational speaker event here in town last week.
It was lovely.
But I was unavailable, so you got to tell me, how was it?
Sure, it was lovely, and I needed that. As you just said, we need to pick ourselves up and find those evenings, you know, that are going to bring us to an uplifting moment and inspire us, and just to get out and start living again and hearing things that are going to keep us motivated.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it was hosted by Lisa Harris, and you know, she's taken on a bit of a side business now as a life coach and a motivational speaker, and really, she opened up the evening, and I thought it was fantastic.
Yes.
She was very from the heart. It was very grounded in everything that she said. She shared some of her experiences and how she kind of got to this moment, and I truly thought that she kind of had, you know, the audience in the palm of her hand as she was speaking, because it was very very positive, although she did share some tough stuff from her life as well. And then, of course, you know, Tracy Mcdonald, who is also from the region here and has written a book that speaks about how to find that place. She then spoke for a good considerable amount of time, and it was really quite the evening, eh, Judy?
Yes, and like Veronique said, everybody in life goes through their ups, their downs, and their lows and their highs. And so the thing is that it was kind of like, you know, that expression, fall down 7 times, get up on the 8th. And it made everyone, it could resonate with everybody, because whether we've lost somebody in our family, and you have, and I have, we all have, you grieve and you hurt and you're so sad. But if you stay in that down place for too long, then, you know, someone's going to have to come kick you in the butt and get you going again. And so she started reading inspirational material and surrounding herself with happy things to focus on, and signs and bright sweaters, and so that was great. And then Tracy Mcdonald, actually, we both each bought her book. It's entitled The Gift of Shift. It is lovely, and it's basically a collaboration of short personal and sometimes intimate stories which illustrate a positive mindset and inspire you to think positively.
Well, you know, to your point, Judy, you know, sometimes when we're going through, because we all do go through the difficult moments or the hard things in our life, it's easy for us to think that we're the only one who's going through something like that. And when we have the positive moments, they seem to be more organically with other people. But, you know, like everybody does go through these difficult moments too. And in the last, especially with COVID and all of the isolation that's come with that in some ways, you know, it's easy to be in a bad moment and think that it's very much just you, but we all go through that tough stuff. And so it's great to have opportunities like this to remember that everybody's going to go through these types of things, and that we can look at the positives to help us carry through some of those difficult moments.
Absolutely.
So walking away, I felt good. I thought, you know, there's moments where you might feel bad or down, and like you said, you're not alone. And I loved it. And I appreciated them coming and giving up their time too, because Tracy speaks, I think, all over the country basically as a motivational speaker, and again has written this book. If anyone's interested, I believe you can order online, The Gift of Shift, written by Tracy Mcdonald and Anne Papiotti.
Well, and it's also really great to you know, celebrate a Miramichi who's gone on and is doing this nationally. Whatever it is that they do, you know, we love when a Miramichi has big success out there across the country, and it's always special. I'm sure it was for Tracy as well to come and do a homecoming show.
Exactly.
And share, just like she is across the country right here at home.
Like you, I'm thinking about you, all that you've done, all that you've done in your past, and in Toronto, and your directing, and all the things you're involved in, Adam. So you can attest to the fact that, you know, Miramichiers can do fantastic things.
Absolutely. We're the very best. We can do anything.
The very best, absolutely. You know, and it's the great thing too that they talked a lot about, you know, is mental health, right? And how do we get there? And we all have those challenges. We all have moments, and then some of us, you know, those moments are longer than others. But with some sad news over the weekend with Naomi Judd, and you know, really May kicks off Mental Health Month, so. It's really timely, sadly enough, that, you know, Naomi Judd was unable to continue in her mind and in her life, and so she passed on the weekend, just prior to being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, but after a lifetime of struggling with her mental health.
Which I was not aware of.
No.
I did never know that Naomi Judd suffered with mental health issues, and apparently she had been so depressed over the years that her husband, Larry Strickland, he was actually a backup singer and started with Elvis Presley,
really?
more so in the limelight in 1974.
Oh, wow.
He's a gospel type singer. He's been with her for 30 odd years, and he supported her, and they were on, I believe it was Good Morning America or the Today Show, I think both at one point, talking about the fact that they struggled so much, because when someone's struggling with mental illness and depressed or anxious or having panic attacks, whatever the situation may be, the family's affected. So he stood by her side and nurtured her and held her hand and got her through. And so it was very heartbreaking, apparently, at the awards, the country music induction to the Hall of Fame, because the daughters, she was their life, really.
Yeah, of course.
That was the matriarch, their queen.
Yes.
And she was beautiful inside out, and so I guess she just couldn't go on.
Well, it's, again, we never know what people are experiencing, right? And I think it always draws us to be mindful and to be kind. And it's those cliches of you don't know what someone else is going through, but it's true. And I didn't know Naomi Judd myself particularly well. I think I'm of a generation that just sort of missed out on the sensation that was the Judge. I'm a little bit more familiar with Ashley and Winona, the next generation of Judds. What an extremely talented family, though.
Absolutely.
And it certainly would be a bittersweet moment then to receive that induction into a Hall of Fame, and wow. But that you can't take away the accomplishments, and Naomi, of course, was a big part of that.
Triumphant. She came through so many adversity.
Well,
So much adversity, I should say.
And you're right. You never know, and you think, well, she's got money, she's got family, she's got fame and fortune and all that stuff. So you think, well, her life can't be tough, right? But you just never know, and mental health challenges affect us all at some point in different ways, and it just in this particular case, for her, she just couldn't bear it anymore.
And it's true that money does not buy happiness. It can buy you nice things to make you feel a bit better about life and make it more pleasant, but she was I think her net worth was $24 million, which means diddly when you're struggling every day to get out of bed.
That's right.
So health and wellness is so, so important, and I want to recognize that we should all try to do something nice for somebody during May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
But I will say this, money can buy you happiness because it buys me mint chocolate chip Girl Guide cookies.
Where are they?
They're not here because I've eaten them all. But that is happiness is found in a box of Girl Guide cookies. Just so you know.
Chocolate.
Oh, just love it.
We all have our favorite go-to temporary happiness snack,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll say no
Although
more.
sometimes then when I have a little too many, I feel not so happy.
Not so happy.
After.
Absolutely.
Inside of my- yeah.
Well, that is the problem, right?
Gross.
There's the real high from eating the entire box of mint chocolate Girl Guide cookies, and then there's the groaning because you're like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And I am full of mint chocolate.
But you did not eat the whole box, did you, Miss Veronique?
Not this morning.
Not today.
Not today.
Veronique, you have also done, I would take a moment to give you a shout out here because you've done a lot of work. You've been a real mental health champion in the community.
Yes.
And to create that awareness, and when we think about even someone like Naomi Judd from a different generation, and they didn't talk about these things. No. And my observation in the last few years in the community, and as mayor and councillor, but in any context, it's been great to see that opening up and people becoming more comfortable because people are saying, was it happening more, or are we just finally talking about it? And either way, it's important that we are talking about it so people can get that health and that support, right?
Absolutely.
And we know that so many more resources are needed, but it starts with awareness, and we've made good progress there. So now it's about actually getting things done and making sure that those supports are in place too, right?
We do hear more people talking about mental health, right? It used to be once a year you'd see it on social media, but now I find it's not as awkward to have that conversation with people about mental health. And and I'm lucky I'm surrounded by my colleagues on the council table who are willing to to explore that topic and to see how we can better help the citizens of Miramichi and kind of do our part, right, to get better.
Well, and it's always the youth that lead the way, right? And I'm thinking about some of those mental health champions that have come out in these younger generations, and one that comes to mind, and of course her name escapes me, but that young American gymnast who with
Simone
Biles, yes, with all of the pressure, and then to just say, you know what, like for my mental health, like I'm gonna have to step back from this.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing in the world, even an Olympic gold medal, more important than your mental health.
I agree.
Yeah.
In Canada alone, there's 6.7 million people affected with some form of mental health issue.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
and becoming more and more apparent every day, right? And especially with the pandemic. But some exciting, things coming over the next few days. The Timberwolves Spring Fling is back after a hiatus. So, very exciting to see that coming back and people being able to get out and enjoy a bit of, dancing.
Fun. We've missed the fun.
We have, and we need to be able to. And I actually think it's going to take all of us a little time to sort of decompress and get back into that.
Absolutely.
Like Evan and I we were the good fortune of going down south in March, and we had booked a trip in the fall, and we thought, okay, well, we'll see, right? Like we had the full insurance, so if we weren't able to go, we could cancel. But those first couple of days, like it was like a shock to the system.
It would be.
To be, and they still had a lot of good COVID protocols in place and masking around food and all of those things, but nonetheless, just to be around people and sort of be out in the wild again, like it was a shock to the system. It took me a couple of days
being out in the wild.
get used to it a little bit,
absolutely.
and I think we're all going to go through that.
Absolutely, yeah. I have a couple of trips booked, leading into the summer and in the summer. So I'm like, but really excited about them, but they're a little apprehensive as well because I'm like, oh right, I'm leaving New Brunswick.
When's the last time we really danced? I mean, I know my son Jansen is not a dancer. He doesn't love to dance or even like it, but he's looking forward to gathering in a social setting and having band play and his friends show up, and that's 19 and over, by the way. And tickets, I do believe, are Jonka too. I know they're in Chatham, and I think other places in the river you can check around.
Absolutely. So we're just about to go to break from our opening segment. So don't go too far, everybody. We want to make sure that you come back for our next segment. We got so much to talk about, and we're so happy to be here with you today. So join us back with Mayor Lorton, Judy, and myself in a few more minutes. Go grab a cold beverage today and have a snack. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Coffee now.
That's right. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault. I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Judy Loge, and our very special guest co-host, Mayor Adam Lorton.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. It's so good to be back with you guys on day one back in the studio.
I know.
Day one, beautiful sunshine out there.
I know.
Where would you better like to be than here?
That's right. I mean, really. I mean, I could be on a beach though. Then
Pretend.
Next time we'll get lunch.
Okay, there we go. But you know what? It's hard to believe that we've been gone from the studio for the last 2 and a bit years, and it was right around now, actually 2 years ago, that we were starting on our at-home version of Have a Chat. So we had, of course, the pandemic was declared in March. And then we were off air for a bit, trying to figure out what we were going to do and trying to be safe at home. And then we started the virtual version of Have a Chat right around sometime in May. I can't remember quite the exact date. And that was a real learning curve.
Good points and bad points about that. You were in the comfort of your own home. The Rogers team were exceptional as in accommodating us and being right on time and working around our schedule. They made sure they were all available. They were right on board, did a beautiful job from home, the editing, filming, all of that. You could sit in your house with just your underwear on. You didn't even have to put you know,
It's
you can
true.
just sit there because all you see is that waist up.
It's true.
So you can have your house coat on or whatever. No, seriously, there
I'll
were
admit to being in my jammies a couple
pajama
times.
pants, right? And yeah, but no, we're joking actually sometimes.
Sorry.
But it just wasn't personable. You know, and you are very personable personalities.
Yeah.
You like the engagement up close and personal, and we're vibrant personalities. So I really missed that contact.
I know.
It's not the same on screen.
I found the same. But the one thing I did like about it is we were able to get guests from all over North America.
Right. It opened up.
Right? Like that was a big thing for us because, you know, they could log into the software from anywhere. And we did. We took advantage of that. We had some guests from the States, we had some from across Canada, and it was really it was great. You know, and I will miss that a little bit here in studio until we can figure out how to like pipe them in or something, but
Right.
you know, that was the one thing that I really did enjoy from home, but I found it more exhausting to tape from home, even, and it was taped, it wasn't live.
Yeah.
For some reason, because I don't know if it was because I was on screen all day for work anyway, or if it was lacking that human interaction, and you get your kind of your energy from being with people, or
Yeah,
Well, you didn't get to, you know, the energy and the excitement of walking onto the set in the studio, right?
True.
You didn't have the big bright lights. Maybe you had a ring light
Yes.
or two, as some of us who've been Zooming, you know, for a couple of years now have figured out it. But it's amazing, you know, how people adapted. And you think back to those first few months of the pandemic, and I mean, you ladies were in good company because so many shows across North America were doing the same thing, right?
Exactly.
And you know, thinking about how do we do this, and I think about like Saturday Night Live, and they tried to do some home formats, which really didn't work as well for them, and I think they would admit that, but they were able to find ways to get back into their studio. People like Stephen Colbert broadcasting from his basement for over 2 years as well, and
I know.
and you know, I think we've learned that some of this video technology can be favorable. Like I'm by all means so content that we're being able to get back out there, and we were able to adapt. Now we've got to adapt again because the reality is it's not going away. COVID's still there,
Right.
and now we need to figure out how to live with that and still get back to some of the things we love. But I got to tell you, the Zooms, I love the efficiency of it. Like
Yes.
you know, wasting so much time in the car, like driving from here to there, and you know, 20 minutes to that meeting, and then another half hour to get back over to that. So, you know, we can get a lot more done. And I think, to your point, not only guests, but we realize that we can work from home a little bit more, and that creates opportunities for people to be in a place like Miramichi where you can be working for anywhere from right here. Pajama pants optional, I guess.
Get your own space too. Like there's nothing like being, like you said, with the bright lights and beautiful background and live. But at home, you know, besides the barking dogs that we have to contend with, because we can't
did that
control
a lot.
our fur babies sometimes. If they want attention, we're on the show. We can't kind of leave the set and go back.
We did that a lot,
But you know, that's life too.
yeah.
Geez, well, Bender, my cat, of course, and Sam, my two black cats, they both love to make cameo appearances
Yes.
in my Zoom meetings
As does Winston.
as well.
But not so much. He's like, I'm done. But
Yeah.
Winston, like, he always wants the most attention when he realizes that I'm talking to the
Of course.
to the screen, right? But but you know, to your point, you're very right. There are lots of opportunities because we can now work from home. Like I work out of Ottawa now, and I live here, right? Like so,
cool.
it's a wonderful opportunity for me, and that all came from this pandemic. So I
Yes.
still work for the federal government, which is great, but I work out of Ottawa now. So and so many of my colleagues are around the country, and it's such an opportunity. But let's talk a little bit about what you've got going on. Now, it's been a while since you've been on this show, and we're very happy to have you back. So what have you, now, besides being a mayor, which I know takes up a lot of time, it's funny, most people don't realize that mayor and council are part-time,
That's right.
right? And it is not part-time. It is not part-time work,
It's a lot of hours.
like it fills our days for sure.
There really is like sort of no limit to it. So like you have to, I think you'd agree as well. You have to find that, like, you've got to stop yourself, because you could literally spend all of your time just doing that. But it is a part-time job by definition, by salary. So you do have to make sure that you know, are doing other work as well. And I got to tell you, it's funny because it is probably one of the questions I get asked the most from local citizens here at Miramichi. And you know, some are pretty polite about it. Others, you know, maybe they always want to ask you and they want to be polite, but they can't figure out how do you politely ask. So what do you do exactly?
Yes, of course.
Do you have another job?
Yeah.
And you know, because I don't have a conventional job like a 9-to-5 swing at an office, but again, sort of maybe perhaps not because of the pandemic, but through the pandemic, and my work is all not necessarily local either. So I'm a television producer and director, television and media. So we do different projects for online, for different TV networks, and then some commercial and corporate work as well for clients like Tourism New Brunswick, for example. But the work just has never stopped. And one particular project that my company, I've got a local production company here called Ninin Productions. My co-owner on the company is Michelle Cadogan.
Oh,
I'm
she's
sure
a beautiful lady.
you know Michelle and David,
Love her.
of course, are well-known citizens in the community.
Great
And
people.
so we started this a few years ago, and over the last 2 years or so, we've partnered with another local animator, Tara Audibert, who's she's created and wrote and then animated a children's animated series that our company produced for APTN called Little Goose, Cobb and the Legends of Turtle Island. So this is an amazing story based on many of Woolloomooloo stories from that Tara learned from her family, for example, about and it's reimagined as Little Goose Cub is a little goose cub but at a school with all the other little Indigenous legends, and so it's broadcasting in French, English, and Woolloomooloo, the first nationally broadcast show in the Woolloomooloo language in Canada, and it'll be premiering in all 3 languages this coming weekend.
That is so amazing.
Incredible.
And we've had Tara on our show.
Yes.
Brilliant little girl and just a dynamic personality. And so you're super busy then.
That's why it was, of course, animation. And when we were in some of my live action filming work, like, of course, that first summer, especially, like figuring out, can we go out and shoot? How are we? But then, Tara, we'd been working together on this project, and it was the perfect timing. So we spent the first year of the pandemic, year and a half, just heads down creating this animated show. So it was really good timing.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those really personal, tight agendas that you say, from Monday to Sunday to Monday rather, that you have to block off exactly? Or are there times you just say, I don't have a thing to do and I'm going to choose that? Or do you have to commit yourself to like your schedule every hour, basically?
Well, I mean, nobody loves, or I love free time as much as the next person. We don't get a lot of it. So I do often, when I get up and I look at the calendar for each week or each day, absolutely, it's usually back to back. And I always say that to people, the reality of, being busy, which many people like to be busy, with my own work and with being mayor also, is the best thing to do is we're going to have to book a meeting, because otherwise if we may catch each other, but we may not. So if it's something that we need to have a discussion on, we better book an appointment. And but so I live and die by my schedule. I just
You live and die by it.
It's gotta go in the schedule.
Do you know what? I don't know if either of you would agree with me on this, but I think you're like me in the fact that we do much more and we're much more efficient under pressure. I function much better with stress almost, because I'm not a procrastinator as such, but if I have an event to MC, I'm not going to spend like weeks preparing for something that's coming up at the end of May, starting now. I do much better thinking about my thoughts. I jump up in the middle of the night, write something down, or something will come to me. That would be kind of funny. And then I put my thoughts together, but not too soon, because I think you can overdo it. Yeah. You can overthink it, and you can overplan. And that way it's not as spontaneous, and it drains you of your energy come the time of the event.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing with something like that too, Judy, and some of my work that we do is like creative work. The flip side of that is that you can't always do that on demand. So I can put in my calendar that I'm going to write this new script, or I'm going to come up with all these ideas on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. But if I'm not feeling in a creative mood, it doesn't help. And so that gets tricky, because sometimes you get an inspiration and you sort of have to say, okay, I need to take a few minutes and write this down.
You do.
So I won't forget it. But
middle of the night. That's when my ideas come to me, because as you know by now, I don't sleep.
No.
So we had Jason Cyrus on our show, and I think I have to book him for hypnosis to see how he can put me to sleep for a long time.
I absolutely agree. But but I'm the same, because for me, my schedule is so full, right? I mean, you know, I've got my regular work, we've got council, we've got, you know, some of the volunteer work that I do, and so I work on deadlines, because that's how I can get it done, right? Because I have, this thing might be due on May 15th, but I've got 10 things due before that, right? So I got to get them. I work on deadlines, and same my schedule. You know, it's all in my schedule, and that's how I can. And I set reminders for myself for everything, because I have the best of intentions when I think, oh, I'll remember that, but I do not.
But organization is the key to success, though.
Yes.
I strongly go by that. I totally do organization. If you're just winging everything, it's just going to be a flop ultimately.
Well, I'm a big to-do list guy as well.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, both because it keeps me focused,
Yes.
but also because there's something very rewarding about getting to cross those items off that to-do list.
Check.
Which is what I did here in our first segment.
But I like you too, though, Judy. It's not so much the overnight for me, but I find that period when I'm laying in bed about to go to sleep, I have to keep a little notepad on my nightstand, because sometimes I'll either, if I've been thinking about a problem, the answer will come, or if I'm again in a creative mode, well, geez, I got to write down these notes, because I won't remember in the morning, and Evan will say, what the hell are you doing?
I know.
Turn that light off.
Exactly.
Having a dream.
I'm sorry, just a minute, just a minute.
Like having a dream. Sometimes you recall it. They say something will jot your memory, jolt your memory, and you'll think, that's what I dreamed about last night. But I don't sleep long enough to dream, so that's not an issue. I just sleep to dream.
And it's really bad, because my Fitbit tells me how little I sleep, right?
Well, you see, that seems to be because you're up going for record-long walks every morning,
yes,
Vero,
you have been.
which is amazing.
So trying to keep up with my 76-year-old father, right, who is, you know, in phenomenal shape, always has been, and I decided this year I was going to get healthier, because you know, I knew that there was going to be a lot on my plate. And anyway, so Easter weekend, I am not sure what possessed him, but he just decided that we were going to go for these walks, right? And I'm like,
it wasn't nice weather.
no, it rained and snowed. And he's like, oh, well, we'll do a couple long walks. I'm thinking, like, Easter weekend, I'm going to sleep, right? Anyway, so we did 11 kilometers Good Friday. We did 12 kilometers on Saturday. We did 13 kilometers on Sunday and 15 on Monday. So we did 51 kilometers over 4 days. And I thought I was going to die. I was exhausted. And he's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, keep going. But she had a little picture of herself on her page, on her Facebook wall, with her little toes all bandaged
they
up
were
from
terrible.
blistered and stubbed toes.
Yeah.
But power on, Verity. Good for you.
Well, I mean, God love
50
him.
what?
51 kilometers in 4
over
days.
Easter
That's
weekend.
amazing.
And she looks amazing.
It's all, you know, and part of coming out of the COVID hibernation too is, like, I've had to make a concerted effort in the new year to just get back to being active. So, you know, I wish I was at double-digit walk level. Not yet, but just even getting back a couple of days a week to the gym. Well, a friend of mine I went to school with, Jessica Sargent, has been hosting weekly exercise classes at the Knights of Columbus, which is literally across the road from my house. So there is no excuse. But it's just really nice. It feels good. You know, there's a mental component to the physical exercise.
Totally. I feel so much better walking outside.
Oh, absolutely. And I saw this quote, and it said, you know, exercise shouldn't be a punishment for what you ate. It should be a celebration for what your body can do.
I love it.
You know, and I'm like,
It's beautiful.
okay, probably a year ago I couldn't have walked 15 kilometers at once, you know. Probably.
That's huge.
Probably not.
But I'm at my best when I'm out walking with my dogs, and naturally walking, like not on a mission to accomplish,
No,
just
yeah.
strolling, and I might chat to a neighbor, things, where have you been? You've been gone for 2.5 hours. Oh, I met all the new neighbors, and okay, because supper's burning, by the way, but I'm glad you had a nice time.
In our last 2 minutes before we go to break, because it's already break time, what are you looking forward most to for the summer, Adam?
Geez, I'm not very good at picking like one thing, right? But okay, what quickly comes to mind is, first of all, I'm getting to go back to, I believe you're going as well, for your first of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities conference in Regina. So we're back in person for that, which is the first time, of course, in years. Evan and I always book an annual vacation, which we have again, to Prince Edward County in Ontario. So they have beautiful beaches and an abundance of wineries and amazing, delicious, locally grown food. So many of our favorite things. And a couple of exciting television projects that I'm working on. A couple I'm not allowed to talk about, and one I'm really excited about, which we can't talk about yet, but I know we'll be back talking about it again soon.
We'll have you back.
That's a beautiful summer
Judy,
lined
what
up.
are you looking forward to?
My pool.
Oh.
My pool, I enjoyed it so much last year, and just lounging and reading out on the deck in the hot sun, and then, I just love it.
Yeah.
I'd like to add Judy's pool to my
Yes,
list.
a ditto.
Yeah.
We'll head over there one day.
We'll book that, mark that.
And
in your
we got to
schedule.
ask you.
Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to going to Regina, actually, to the
Yes.
conference, because I've heard so many great things about it and what I'm going to learn over those few days. So I'm really excited about that. But I've booked a road trip to Ontario. So I'm going to go through Quebec and Ontario. I'm going to do Niagara Falls and all that because my high school in Ottawa is having a reunion. And I'm terrified.
It'll be amazing.
I can't wait to go, but I'm looking forward to getting into my car and having a concert with just me, because I'm going to sing at the top of my lungs for days on end and exploring everything I want to explore.
That's beautiful, Veronique, and a reunion at that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in 30 years.
So now I'm excited for all of us.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be right back. Don't go too far. We've got another great segment coming right up, but we'll see you in a couple minutes right after break. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I'm your host today, Veronique Arsenault. We are live in studio, and I am so excited about that. Of course, joined by my co-host, Judy Loge. And our very special guest co-host, as we've had all show, is, of course, Mayor Adam Lord.
I wish you could be here every week.
I know.
I know you don't have the time for that, but we'd love to have you.
Let's catch up, girls.
I know.
It's a pleasure to have you.
It's been too long.
It has.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, of course, we all know you, and most people do out there, but just for those who might not, who might be tuning in for the first time, you never know, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Geez, it's always so hard to awkward. It's awkward to answer these questions, right? But I know we'll get through this, and then we're going to put that mayor hat on here and talk about some, which is important because we want to make sure people know what's going on in terms of the city. But outside of that, just like so many of us, of course, I grew up here. I was away for university. I moved to Toronto, started my career in television and film. Actually, interestingly, I worked a few years on the Marilyn Dennis Show, another great daytime talk show. During Canada. And a couple weeks ago, she had Scott McGilvery on.
Right.
It's been now, I left and moved back home in 2014, so it's been 7-8 years since I've been at the show. I was there for about the first 4 or 5 years. And anyway, Scott and Marilyn were chatting, and Miramichi came up, and Marilyn apparently told the audience, by the way, I know the mayor down there. He used to work with us. So
It's so cool.
yeah, so it's been, I've just been having, now been back 8 years, of course, ran for council, got involved as mayor, and now 6 years into my role as mayor, also working provincially as the president of the Cities of New Brunswick Association, and still, doing some creative work too, and of course always busy around the community also. So I don't know. I feel like I failed the tell us about yourself question. I feels like I'm on an awkward first date right now.
Yeah.
That's you have a beautiful sister, and you
Yes.
have a wonderful brother, and you have one grandson, a little nephew.
2 now, actually. Yes. So we have Noah, my first nephew, who is just turned 9. Actually, just had a birthday. So he's in his last year of double digits, and Nash is 2 now.
Such a nice
as
family,
well.
and a beautiful
Yes.
family. And so, we know that being a mayor is a huge job in itself, along with everything else you do in the community. So how did it feel to be acclaimed mayor last year? I mean, you're going to have a new council that was, sworn in. So it was a whole new scene. How did that feel?
Well, I mean, I won't lie, it was nice to be acclaimed, especially because that the election, as you know all too well, Veronique, was delayed because of COVID, and then the results were delayed as well. So that I felt so bad for all of you guys and everybody around the province who from election night had to wait 2 full weeks to get those results. And
it was tough.
so I wasn't jealous of that by any stretch, but it was. We'll take it. It is a bit weird, to be honest. It's weird to not, because I I feel very strongly about the vision that I have for the city, that we have together, and where I think we need to go. And so an election is an opportunity for people to sort of say, yes, we agree with that vision. Yes. We like what you're saying. And, I guess by default, we can interpret it to mean that people generally are pleased with the direction of the city if no one felt that they had an alternative vision to present. Yeah. But the reality is you'd like to have a vote sometimes. Yeah. But despite that, I feel very optimistic about where we are as a city. So coming in now and having a new council, half of returning councilors, half new faces, and I think that's really great because we get that experience, and we built so many good plans and did so much good work in my first term with the old council, and this council to come in with some fresh eyes, which is always helpful, but also to say, you know what, like we support the direction and we're just going to keep our heads down and keep going. Yeah. And so, I'm excited about where we are as a community, and coming out of COVID, we've had record numbers of development. Our population in the recent census grew for the first time since we became a city in '95. So there are some exciting milestones, a lot of challenges too, and you think about affordability. Housing affordability is top of mind and a top priority, making sure that we can try to create more affordable housing in the community. It's an exciting moment to say, all right, we know we're back for a few more years, so let's roll those sleeves up and keep going. We got no intentions of slowing down because there's no shortage of work to do.
I love it.
No, absolutely. And I will say this, my first election, so it was a very strange feeling that, we had leading up to the election. We didn't, the campaign was different. A lot of it was virtual, trying to keep everybody, safe. And then that we didn't get the election results until 2 weeks later. And I remember we were all in at my house with no furniture. We had just bought the house and no furniture at all. And the results came out, and I didn't realize that when the results came out, that they all flooded onto the website, that those were the results.
It was all the results.
Yeah.
Because usually they stagger in.
Yeah, and so and it kept saying 10 of 40 polls reported, so I kept waiting, right?
Exciting.
I kept hours. I waited, and I really didn't get it. And Samantha was, so my girlfriends were there, Samantha and Kara and Rachel, and so when the results first popped up, Sam goes, oh! And she didn't look very happy.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh no. And then I looked and she's like, oh my God, and so, but it took hours for me to realize that I had actually been elected. And she's got a video of it. I'm like, I think I just got elected.
How did that feel in that very moment?
It was surreal. I really didn't expect it. I was very humbled by it.
I told her no worries.
I know.
Yeah. No worries
I know.
At all,
and you did. And thank you. But
totally.
I still get surprised at times. I still have that moment. But it was amazing. But the last year has flown by. But for you, what are you most proud of over the last year?
Well, the last year, and they all kind of blur together, and I think we all feel sometimes like, okay, government doesn't move fast enough. And I'm just at that point now where, and you think like every day, what did we get done today? Yeah. But then you can look back now and see all the things that have been done, whether it's in the first term, all the renewal of the public park spaces, for the example, which we're going to keep going on. But I guess, a few things come to mind. In our first year, we're the first council that's ever come in and done a strategic plan. Mm-hmm. So we have a 4-year roadmap and agreed priorities that we're going to tackle together. And that, I feel like that's already been paying dividends. Like, we're very focused. Staff know what we want to achieve, and they're working to make that happen. So certainly having, we talked about that last segment, having that focused plan and to-do list of items, even as a city, is really, really helpful. To adopt our active transportation plan as we did.
Absolutely.
We know we've heard for a long time that people are more and more looking for more active transportation opportunities, better walkability in the downtowns, and in this case, more trails for biking and walking, and especially by the river is what we heard, right? So to have that plan now that we can work away on over the next few years, and we've of course committed $1 million in the budget to do the first piece, the northern spine, so to connect for walkers and bikers from bridge to bridge.
Love it.
on the north side of the river is really exciting. Something even simple like the garbage, not simple, but like the garbage bylaw. You know, people might not think that when you think about your list of highlights of things you're most proud of or achievements, that a garbage bylaw might not necessarily be on that list, but it's a significant change for the community and for the city. And it's hard to believe in 2022, before this garbage bylaw, we had no rules. We know the climate crisis that we're living in, and again, with affordability and wanting to keep people's taxes low, from the perspective of protecting the environment and people's taxes, we've got to say, like, you can't just have unlimited garbage all the time anymore. Nobody does that. Most communities had garbage bylaws years ago. So we've had there's been a learning curve, and we've had to make adjustments, but we're now a few months into this, and it's, for the most part, going well. People are adopting, recycling numbers are up, and people can still have more garbage if they want to, except now we provide everybody with a base level of garbage that comes, with your property. And if you'd like more, you can purchase more. And we think that's a fairer way, more in line with how it's done elsewhere. So, we know that there are some people who, don't like the adjustment and think that they should be able to throw anything out all the time. But we know that that's just not the world that we live in anymore.
No, I'm really good to recycle. You can be proud of me. I am. I'm telling you, they almost make fun of me. It's like a little piece of paper. Oh, you can't throw that out. You can't put that in the garbage. It has to go in the bin. So I think if we all try a little bit harder, we live in this beautiful city, and we want to go by what we should be following as far as rules go. And on that note, with the citizens of Miramichi, how can they become more engaged and when they have opinions, because everybody has their opinions and requests and they want their needs met, how can you help those people?
Well, it's a really good question, Judy, and I can tell you, and Vero could speak to this well too, like that's certainly something that is always top of mind when in municipal government, and hopefully in any government, but where we want to make sure people can get the information so they know what's going on and have the opportunity to be consulted, to provide their feedback. So we've got a new website, for example, engagemiramichi.ca, where anytime we're going to be looking for feedback on anything, it's going to go onto that website. So people should always make a note of that and check in. And we've got a communications officer that we've hired, and that would be sort of, to me, also something that come out of the first year that's really exciting. We've heard from people, they want better communication from the city, and so we've got a communication expert, Gail Harding. People probably know Gail from, she's got a lifetime of work in communications for other organizations and in media, local media. So she's really going to help us make sure that we're getting our messages out and that we're listening to people. A couple of quick examples specifically. One thing that we did over the last year too was renew the community grant policy. So I know we've got a lot of people who watch the show who are involved in the community in different organizations. So the community matching grant now will provide up to $4,000 for almost any and every community initiative. So if anybody out there is looking, they can go to our website, get those details. But if they're looking for a matching, couple of $1,000s to help with a local project, the city's going to support you in that. And most exciting, coming up, we've got a big outdoor recreation strategy that we're building. So we've got the downtown renewal, we've got the active transportation. So this is the next big plan, is to envision all of the outdoor activities and rec spaces that we'd like to see in the city. And we're going to be asking really soon for people to participate in that on that Engage Miramichi website. So I would love every citizen, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter if you're in a sport or an activity or you just like to go walk your dog on a trail. Right. The more we hear from people and their ideas, what they'd like to see for outdoor rec in the community, the better the plan's going to be. So we'll be, watching our social media, mine and Veronique's in the cities, because we're going to be pushing that out in a couple weeks. And we want people to give us their feedback. Like, these are not my Adam and Veronique's plans. These are the community's plans that we build as council and then we make happen. So the more people that participate, the better.
That's fantastic. And do you find, that's all beautiful, and that's going to be allowing you to get feedback to people, and they're going to be asking questions of you, and that format's wonderful online. But do you get personal calls as a counselor at home, or get stopped in the street? Could you please do this? Could you please do that? Because that's hard. Yes. That's hard. You're around the table and you're consulting with your fellow council members and mayor to council, and yet I'm sure that on your downtime you're yinged and yanged and like, can we get this and can we have that? And so that's got to be a little bit overwhelming.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because you want to hear from people. You want to,
course.
you want, like, the reason why I wanted to get involved in municipal politics and to be on council was literally to be involved in the day-to-day things that affect people's lives, right? You know, as you go up in levels of government, it changes, you know, how deeply you really affect people. So I wanted to be in the midst of these discussions. Didn't really understand that I would know this much about garbage, but that's okay. That's okay.
Too much information, right?
Like, it's a lot of information,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
am deeply engaged with garbage now. And same with, you know, our engineering department and asphalt and all of those things. Our poor director of engineering has to explain that stuff to me all the time because I really have no idea, right? Yeah. And as our deputy mayor, Patty Quinn, always says, an engineer I am not. And so, you know, they have to, but we have a wonderful staff at the city and our directors and everything. But it's interesting because you do go out. It was funny. I was out with a friend of mine was visiting from Ontario a couple weekends ago. And we were at O'Donoghue's for supper, and it was great. We were having a great time. And someone came up, and they're like, "Excuse me, I got to talk to her for a second, right?" And so they were asking about a different bylaw. And so, you know, and
that's hard.
my friend that was visiting, he's like, "No, it's what she does. It's okay. You know, I get it." But I get messages on Facebook. I get messages, you know, I get text messages, I get phone calls, I get emails, I get, you know, and I know you are the same. Twitter, people have constant access now, or even through our, you know, I have a city phone and I have a personal phone, so it's a really interesting thing, and I've gotten very good at managing it where I can.
Important. Well, I think we all have to find a way to do that, right?
Yes.
And, you know, I think people have to absolutely, like, where it, you know, it comes with the territory, so to speak, of being in elected office, of being right. But you do want people to understand that you're still human too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you know, if you're out with family, maybe it's not the best time, or you know, the thing I find in general with social media, don't get started on social media and the negative cesspool that it's become, but if people write you a message and you haven't responded in like a half an hour, they say, well, what, are you ignoring me? Like, you don't care about my issue? And it's like, well, no, but I have a day job. I'll check my messages once or twice a day and I'll get back to you. You know, I don't know. We absolutely want to go out of our way to help people and help solve their problems, but you know, there are limitations to everything.
Well, there's not just one person at you, it's dozens and dozens and maybe hundreds of people you have to reply to. Even my personal emails and my texting, it's like, I'm only one person here. I can only you know, reply to so many people at one time.
That's right.
That's one person at a time.
So we are in the last minute of our show.
This is it.
So last thoughts?
Oh my gosh, Cheryl. Well, there's so many. We talked about the Spring Fling coming up this weekend, but this month is going to be very busy. There's so many things happening. I'm going to forget some, but this Saturday, speaking of, is the Team Up to Clean Up.
Yes.
So we encourage everybody to get out and help with that spring litter cleanup. Your big event, Jason Cyrus, is coming up.
May 13th.
The Striper Cup and the Rib Fest are both coming back in big ways at the end of May, and then that just kicks off a summer of fun in the community. So we'll look forward to seeing people out and about. Do stop and say hello if you see us out and about. We've got a whole summer of festival fun, and we're hoping the city's going to be back to life in a big way.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Well, listen, we want to thank you all for joining us today, especially for our first live show in more than 2 years. We can't thank our guests enough. Mayor Adam Lorden joined us for the entire show today, and we are so thankful for that. It's been an adventure for Judy and I. It's hard to believe that we're closing out our 8th year now, but we'll see you next week. Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a great day, everyone.